The 22nd Amendment to the US Constitution is pretty clear. It was ratified in 1951 and explicitly states that no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. This was a direct response to Franklin D. Roosevelt's unprecedented 4 terms in office. The amendment was designed to prevent any future president from consolidating too much power by staying in office for an extended period. It says a president can only be elected twice, ensuring a regular change in leadership. This law was passed after Franklin D. Roosevelt won 4 terms, raising concerns about potential abuse of power. Roosevelt's long tenure during the Great Depression and World War II made many Americans uneasy about the concentration of power in a single individual, but like a rusty old screen door, the 22nd Amendment might have a loophole. This loophole isn't immediately obvious, but it exists in the wording of the amendment itself. The amendment focuses on being elected president, not necessarily serving as president. This subtle distinction opens up a fascinating legal debate. This distinction has sparked debate about whether someone could become president through other means, like the vice presidency, after already serving 2 terms. For instance, if a former president were to become vice president and then ascend to the presidency due to the sitting president's inability to serve, would that violate the 22nd Amendment? This is where things get interesting for Donald Trump. As a former president who has already served 1 term, the question arises: could he potentially return to the White House through a different route, perhaps as a vice president first? This scenario, while hypothetical, raises intriguing questions about the flexibility and interpretation of the 22nd Amendment. Some legal scholars argue that the 22nd Amendment wouldn't prevent a 2-term president from running as vice president. They delve into the language of the amendment, noting that it only restricts a person from being elected to the presidency more than twice. This leaves a potential loophole for a former president to serve in another capacity, such as vice president, and possibly ascend to the presidency again. Imagine this: Trump becomes VP, then something happens to the president. Boom! President Trump again. This scenario, while seemingly far-fetched, is not entirely outside the realm of possibility. It raises questions about the stability and integrity of the constitutional framework that governs presidential succession. This scenario hinges on a strict, literal reading of the Constitution, which is a favorite tactic of some on the political right. They argue that the text should be interpreted as it is written, without inferring any additional meaning or intent. This approach can lead to unexpected and controversial outcomes. They might argue that if the Constitution doesn't explicitly forbid it, it's allowed. This perspective emphasizes the importance of adhering to the letter of the law, even if it means navigating complex and potentially contentious legal terrain. Of course, this interpretation ignores the spirit of the law, which aimed to prevent excessive presidential power. The framers of the Constitution intended to create a system of checks and balances, ensuring that no single individual could dominate the executive branch indefinitely. This debate highlights the ongoing tension between strict constitutionalism and the broader principles of democratic governance. If Trump attempted this VP maneuver, you can bet your bottom dollar it would ignite a firestorm of controversy. Critics would view it as a blatant power grab, undermining the very foundation of American democracy. Legal challenges would be immediate and fierce. The Supreme Court would likely have the final say, and its decision would have massive implications for the future of the presidency. This isn't the first time Trump has shown a willingness to push the boundaries of presidential norms. Throughout his tenure, he has consistently challenged the established protocols and traditions that have long governed the office. Remember his attempts to overturn the 2020 election? His relentless efforts to dispute the results, despite numerous court rulings and recounts affirming the outcome, were unprecedented. His claims of widespread voter fraud, these assertions were repeatedly debunked, yet they fueled a significant portion of his base, leading to widespread unrest and division. Trump's history suggests he's not afraid to challenge democratic institutions, especially if it means holding on to power. His actions have often put him at odds with both political opponents and allies. Whether he could actually pull off a 3rd term is debatable. The Constitution clearly limits presidents to 2 terms, but Trump has hinted at the idea multiple times, sparking intense debate. But one thing's for sure, it would be the biggest political circus this country has ever seen. The implications of such a move would be profound, potentially reshaping the very fabric of American democracy.